Hi, welcome to a Classy Liberal Podcast. Today we have a few things to talk about, including the Carson Show, Canadian radio commentator who was fired for speaking up for the convoy in Canada, the Ontario state of emergency on top of the Ontario state of emergency, the girl that says she'll wear her mask forever, okay, and Pierre Poilievre for Office of Canada, Prime Minister, leader of the Conservative Party. Let's see what happens with that. Stay tuned. All right, well, let's get into it. We'll start off today with talking about the Carson Show. He was a radio commentator out of Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, who went on a little rant, as they say, about this. You know what? Not even necessarily about the convoy, but more so just about speaking truth. He was talking about how he felt bad about himself because he would come into work and talk about things that he didn't find necessarily important, and also felt stigmatized the fact that he wanted to talk about things that maybe his fellow co-workers or perhaps even a majority of the city he's in, Vancouver, didn't necessarily agree with. He ended his show basically saying that he did support the convoy in Ottawa. He said, we didn't want our kids to be wearing masks or living their life through a QR code, etc., stuff like that. Which, hey, good for him. I agree with him. I couldn't agree more with the fact that, these kids are going to grow up, especially the last, probably around the ages of like 6 to 8 today. Man, the last 2 years of their lives probably have messed them up for the rest of their lives. Thinking what is normal and what's acceptable and what our governments are allowed to do. It's absolutely insane. I will leave the video of him down below. I think he was a national. He wasn't just Vancouver, because I want to say here in Ottawa, I have heard him on the radio before, but I also could be completely wrong. Let's play a little bit of this clip here.
Good morning, radio buddies. We've had some fun this morning, but I got to be honest, my heart is heavy, and it's been heavy for a very long time. I host a radio show. I'm expected to talk about all sorts of things, but it seems I have to avoid talking about all the things that really matter. And it's especially hard with the thing that's happening in Ottawa. It's like, am I supposed to talk about it? Am I allowed to talk about it? Can I say something without getting in trouble? And so I end up just coming in here. I walk into the studio, put on my headphones, and I think, okay, here I am. What silly, stupid thing that doesn't really matter can I talk about today? It weighs heavy on me not to share my honest feelings and commentary about what's happening around us. And I used to kind of mention little things here and there, political things about what's happening in the pandemic, and I would do that. And it ended up just wearing down the relationship I had with my bosses, to be honest. And, one morning, like 6 months ago, I shared my opposition to the passports, and it was never really the same again after that. Things really changed. I paid a very heavy price for saying that, and I begged for forgiveness to the people that needed me to say that. I promised I wouldn't say anything else controversial or post anything about it on Instagram, and my opposition to mandates and passports, those things would just stay locked in my head. And, because I wanted to protect myself, protect my co-host, protect our families from unemployment. But honestly, I just feel like a piece of me died. I feel like I became like a sellout or something. I don't know what the right word is, but I just feel so many things I want to say. And, but there's a price to pay when you do. If you're not going along with what everyone else is saying, this radio show sucks without another point of view. The whole media landscape sucks without another point of view. It's just like the last 6 months, I felt like the crazy person in media, No one is. I'm like, is no one else going to speak up and say that this is kind of crazy? You know, I just feel like I'm trying to stay on my best behavior so that I can be liked again, so that I can keep my job. Instead of doing what we are all supposed to be doing, which is having passionate discussions about the insanity that's happening around us. It's insane. It's like we've been set up to bicker with each other over issues that, although are powerful and valid, they're meant to distract us from going down that rabbit hole that'll wake us up to the manipulation that's taking place. You know, like if you think the Freedom Convoy in Ottawa is a racist movement, you have been tricked. You've been fooled. You know, what we need to realize is that it takes real eyes to recognize real lies. I'll say that again. We need to realize it takes real eyes to recognize real lies. This isn't about race or health or Nazi flags or masks. It's about trying to keep our children off a digital ID that will control every aspect of their lives, that can be switched off at any time. But that's the crazy me coming out, so I won't go there. You know, my God, if you only knew, you'd be so mad. But, you know, I'll be the one that gets mocked for doing my own research. And this last like week or two, I mean, the final thing I want to say is why is the news not telling us the truth? We see truckers setting up bouncy castles for kids, feeding the homeless, dancing, being so damn Canadian, but the news is calling it violent. I don't understand it, you know? I mean, the media took $600 million from the Liberals pre-election. I mean, even Daily Hive took $500,000, I think. You know, so maybe that has something to do with it. And there's nothing wrong with taking the money, but let's just be honest about how the game is played. You know, it's not fair to you. It's not fair to all of us that, like how are we supposed to know what's happening in the world for real if the news isn't telling us? You know, I saw this Sikh man being interviewed in Ottawa, and he was feeding the homeless, he was feeding the truckers, and just a very lovely man. And then the news interviews him, and you know, people were capturing this whole thing on their phones as they just stood around. So they took this 5-second clip of this man saying, "I'm terrified," and they put that on the news. But I think what he was really saying something like, you know, "I'm terrified of running out of food for these people." But they twisted it, make it seem like he was, you know, terrified to be there in Ottawa. You know what I'm saying? Like what is happening? What is happening? So, you know, the choice is yours. You can learn about it, or you can ignore it and focus on your own happiness. And, you know, that's totally okay because, you know, we all got to take care of our own mental health. But please don't get sucked into the bickering that holds you and others down, spreads negativity, works to make things worse. I don't know. It's frustrating, man. But I will come in here. I'll be silly. I'll give away cash. I'll talk about stupid stuff like, hey, do you like curly fries or thick cuts? Call now. I will keep doing that. But, you know, to be totally honest, I have a contract that's coming to a close, and radio doesn't have a history of letting you say goodbye on your last day. And I'm not saying goodbye, but, you know, in the event that I ever become, you know, not enough, or if I ever become too much, I just want to tell you how great it's been to be here on Z95.3 and have these conversations with you the odd time on the air. And I hope that we can continue that somewhere else at some point, or if, you know, subscribe to my new podcast for a few bucks a month. I've got kids to feed, a wife who likes to buy organic food, and it would be nice to have my tribe be with me and help me. So, but I'm still here. I'm on the radio, and I just needed to get that off my chest. I love you guys. Love over fear.
The Kid Carson.
Yeah, so that's Kid Carson, again, out of Vancouver, British Columbia. Good for him. He started his own show. Well, I guess he had already done that. He had already started it months ago or something, or maybe a couple years ago. But that's now his main focus, his main drive, and his main source of income, if I'm not mistaken. So, again, I'll leave his details below just for you to go check him out. He seems to be a pretty good guy. Surprised that he was not kicked off the show earlier. Liberal media running everything. It's kind of scary. All right. Also, what happened on Friday? Premier Doug Ford has decided to go into a state of emergency on top of the current state of emergency that's been active for nearly 2 years now. I'm not 100% sure how that's allowed or how that works, or but I guess people just now see that as normal. Just quickly reading the Guardian post here. The penalties for blocking key routes, including bridges and highways, would include fines as high as 100,000 Canadian dollars and up to a year in jail. That's insane. Justin Trudeau describes the measures announced by Ford as responsible and necessary. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, when you have a liberal agreeing with a conservative about something, I get conservatives can agree with liberals, but when a liberal agrees with a conservative, my lord, something is wrong. Hell has frozen over or something.
Our police forces, but we do set the laws. Today, I'm using my authority as Premier of Ontario to declare a state of emergency in our province. And I will convene Cabinet to use legal authorities to urgently enact orders that will make crystal clear it is illegal and punishable to block and impede the movement of goods, people, and services along critical infrastructure. This will include protecting international border crossings, 400 series highways, airports, ports, bridges, and railways. It will also include protecting the safe and essential movement of ambulatory and medical services, public transit, municipal and provincial roadways, as well as pedestrian walkways.
Funny thing is that, you know, I think Ford has really lost a lot of his base this past 2 years. We're gonna have a provincial election here in Ontario soon. I think it's within 6 months now, and I think he's gonna get slapped in the face. Honestly, I do not think it's gonna go well for him. I think that, yeah, again, he pissed on his base. He pissed everybody off, including, I mean, let's be real here. The Liberals, the leftists, they're not going to vote for him anyway, but for some reason, he's still pondering for their vote. I don't really understand it. Like, even the center left, like, come on, you're never going to get that guy's vote or girl's vote. Center right, yeah, you pissed them all off. We talked about this a little bit with some of the people within my circle about this new Blue Party of Ontario. That's also a little interesting. I haven't fully looked on it. I'll have to do a little bit more research. The guy seems okay. It's still not necessarily the classical liberalism that I want to see, or the classic liberal that I want to see. It's still, I think, more of the conservative side of things, which is unfortunate, but we're not going to ever get a classical liberal party here in Canada, especially in Ontario anyways. It's pretty much like I could see them maybe getting like 2, 3, maybe 5% of the vote. Unlikely though. We'll see, again, majority of the votes going to liberals and conservatives. You know what, I say that, but now that I think about like Northern Ontario, I don't know what they're gonna do. It could be disastrous. I once heard actually of someone talking about a separate Northern Ontario separating, kind of like this Wexit movie we've been hearing about, separation out west. I don't necessarily see how that's possible, how that would work out, or why you would want to do that, but hey, to each their own. But I will be doing a little bit more investigation onto this new Blue Party of Ontario. New blue. I always laugh when I see on websites like a deadline or something and it's like past due, like this one's Thursday, January 2022 at 5 p.m. It's like, okay, that's past. Is anybody updating this website, or is there any new information in the last month? Oh my goodness, I can't believe what's going on here. Cannot believe. I'm looking at these videos online of like people in the States and around the world just like partying and like at concerts and like dancing and raves and probably on MDMA or ecstasy or something. And I'm like, fuck. Where is that in this country? Well, okay, not necessarily the drugs, but just reality, back to normalcy. Like, I was on Instagram and I saw this girl posted. She said something along the lines of, I'll put it here if I can find it again. I'll wear a mask for the rest of my life if I have to. I'm like, oh my. These people are insane. These people are insane. You can go ahead and wear a mask the rest of your life. Don't get me wrong. Go ahead and do it. The problem I have is forcing everybody else to, especially kids. When we're looking at in Canada, the percentage of the increase of child depression, childhood suicide, it's gone up so much that I just it almost outweighs the pain and suffering of the people that have lost someone, I think, from COVID. Honestly, it's just so much more relevant today than it was 3 years ago. It's insane. Speaking of conservatism, Pierre Poilievre, all right, seeks leadership of Canada's Conservative Party. What does that mean? To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I have watched some of his videos in the past, the last 4 years, and I do agree a lot with what he's saying, especially like financially, the way that our country's moving. We're just spending billions and billions of dollars on useless stuff that does not matter to this country at all. It doesn't help us prosper. It doesn't help us grow as a nation. And I mean, hey, if you look at how much in debt we are per capita, people are through the GDP, people are quick to criticize the United States, Italy, these other places. That doesn't matter. Stop comparing to other countries. Just look at us for a second. Look at our debt. It's sickening. It's something that I'm going to be paying for, and my kids and probably my grandkids for the rest of our lives. This old generation, that's especially within the Liberal Party, like this old generation that thinks that they could just spend billions and billions of dollars and you and I will pay for it. I don't even think they think that we will pay for it. I seriously think that they think this is just a magical number that comes out of nowhere that people are able to just type on a computer and then it goes into a bank account and bank account prints it. Absolutely ludicrous. It needs to stop, and he is very much for that, which is good. He did post on Instagram about freedom and all this stuff. I think maybe he's pondering a little bit to the movement that's going on right now with the convoys downtown Ottawa and across our nation across the borders. I think he is pondering a little bit with that, to be honest. I don't think necessarily that's his primary focus. He definitely still has a lot of religious and conservative values. Not necessarily so much classical liberalism. Like, I want to ask him, when you say freedom, do you mean like actual freedom? Or do you mean like freedom from liberals? Because there's definitely two very different things that are not the same to me, at least. Like, when I think of freedom, I think of the ability to govern one's life the way they see fit, so long as it's not trampling on someone else's freedom to do that as well. But in Canada, it's not anything like the United States. Our rights are secured under the Constitution Act, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. But even still, then they're played with every day, and I don't know. I don't think that's something Pierre's going to be running off of necessarily. If he won the leadership for the Conservative Party, I think you'd be quick to drop that like freedom. Hey, you know what? I could be wrong. Who knows? I guess we'll just have to see in the upcoming weeks and months and years. I do feel though, with what's going on with this freedom movement, I think some of those even center left people, centrist, center left, I think they've kind of opened their eyes a little bit to what's actually going on within the media. Like when I went to this protest, what I saw was groups of all different types of people, definitely different political views, who were there protesting under the same thing. And I think especially day one, when they went home and turned on the CBC News and saw what the CBC was saying, I think that really probably opened their eyes to seeing what is going on in this country. Like, especially these minorities that were there, like, I'm sure they probably felt so devastated just being there, protesting it, going home, and then being, having CBC or the Prime Minister basically saying that their opinions were not valid, and craziness and far-right extremist, racist, misogynistic, all that other, trigger word stuff that they use. I really, really hope they remember that come election time, that feeling that they felt, because that's what the average Canadian has been feeling the last 5 years since the Liberals took office, 6 years since the Liberals took office. Just down-to-earth people who want more freedom in the truest sense, less taxes. They want the economy to grow and for their kids to be able to prosper in this country. I think that's genuinely what the center-right people want, and they've just been called racist, misogynistic people the last 6 years since Liberals took office. I'm really hoping that center-left group that was at that protest, that's been watching it on social media, not on the Liberal news, but on social media, I'm hoping those people remember come election time. Remember who was on your side, who had your back, and remember who let you fall and didn't, and supposedly was supposed to. Like, it's not even liberalism anymore, right? It's leftist. It's horrible. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next week.